All right. Now this don't look too environmental, but allow me to explain. What we have here is the system for generating the random chunks. This was the thing that I thought would be harder to do and take longer. So we've got 3 things here that work. The garage trap, which I hadn't set up yet, but now it's set up. The enemy generator works now, and will only generate a new enemy if the previous enemy was destroyed. And Jacob right here, our hero. So this chunk right here, 1 will eventually be the starting chunk that starts with the shaking cage and then Jacob breaking out. And we won't have any enemies for the first part, just to show you how to jump. And we'll have a little thing that shows how to activate traps, some kind of, floating thing that this is activatable. I did animate some of these things, but certain things aren't really sensible to animate, like the tower or the garage or the barrel. But those traps are all in place. So here's how it works. Every time that Jacob here passes through the center of the map, it generates a new section. It also, because of that enemy generator is in the same place, the enemy will leave where he's standing and start chasing him. And we can do a whole animation thing for that later, but for now it's just still these sort of prototype figures until I do some character design. So when I passed through, it picked from a list that they're actually right now they're all the same chunk, but I did name them 1 through 10 so that the level generator, well actually I forgot to change this. Let's do that right now. Let's set the size to 10 and add all 3 of these in here, or all 10 of these I mean. And sorry, I was just testing to make sure I had the edge case for the last one on the list. Okay, so there's 1 through 10. Let's try again. So it will just, from all of these elements, it will pick one at random and snap it to the next section. So here we have the dog appears. It also just generated a level. I can, oh, nope, I didn't dash past that. I'm going to have to dash through this dog here. Should make it so that this one, well, actually, it's deleted that one. That trap works. But each time I go to the next section, it keeps generating a new bit. So apparently my enemy generator needs a little bit of work. Oh, I know why. Because I need to set it to be the parent of the parent, not the parent anymore. So, as you can see over here, we have now 6, then followed by 8, then followed by 3, then another 8, then a 10. Now, if the random generation ever gets too samey, because obviously it can do like the same ones all in a row, then I will have to do a shuffle bag thing where it generates the list of 1 to 10 and then generates those in order and then generates another list and starts it over so that you don't get the same kind of thing twice. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that, so I'm not going to change it right now, but sometime in the future, if it does feel samey, I will change it. But my scene is generating the levels each time he passes through the middle, and it's picking a different one from the list each time. You can see him right there. When he gets to this point, it'll generate another one. It's also supposed to be deactivating the one previous to that every time, but for some reason that doesn't work either, so that needs a little bit of work. But for now, this thing is continuously doing that. I could have the camera cull out objects. The only problem is there are some objects that I don't necessarily want to cull out, like if the dog is alive but just very far behind you. I only want him to be replaced if this section gets erased and he falls through the floor because of that. There'll be kill boxes underneath each of these. Or actually, it might be just, a huge kill box that's linked to the camera, so that if the enemy falls through it, then the game knows that there is not another enemy in the scene, and so it can generate another one when it gets to the enemy generator. But Yeah, I don't. These scripts took quite a long time to ensure that they were going to work correctly, and they do need a little bit of tweaking. But obviously, this is not the environmental I don't know what it is, sprint that you might have been hoping for, but it is pretty good. It just needs to have the same thing cull these off. The script is supposed to do it. I'll show you the script right now because it is quite good. We don't need this level gen point anymore. It doesn't do anything. But there's the level generator script. It goes through and creates objects for last, current, and next. It takes the starting section, which will be the intro stage, and set it to current, creates a next, and then on the first pass it won't do this. But every time that it gets to the trigger, it's setting the last object to be what the current object is now, and the current object to be what the next object is now, which should be this on the first pass and this on every other pass. So it's the same section, or the same code, I guess. But it's just generating a random number from however long that list is. And then the instance sections need to be removing the parent from the generator so that it doesn't try to place it based on that, and then put the position in where the generator actually is in the world as opposed to where it is when it's considered parent, or else it'll set it back to 0. And then it sets active to true, and each time it goes through the loop it creates a new instance section each time. It's supposed to set active the last to be false, but for whatever reason it's not really doing that right now. So I'll have to tinker with this a little bit more, but I don't have any more time to work on this. I got to start packing. So that's the environmental stuff that I have right now. All that's left really to do in the game is to clean this code up, animate the characters, lay out these chunks. All of the traps are already animated, so they should be ready to go. And clean up that enemy generator script so that it does generate enemies if there's not one in the scene. And then it should be good. Then we can, if we want to, put sound effects, UI in it. Other than that, everything should be hunky-dory. So maybe some VFX for the exploding barrel, etc. So anyways, that's where I'm at. Hopefully that fulfills a little bit of what we were trying to accomplish with this environmental pass. So anyways, we'll see ya.